happens. Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own Your Life podcast. Today is episode number 38, Emotional or Logical? How do you make your decisions? We're going to be talking all about decision making and what goes into it. And a fun fact is that we make around 35,000 decisions every single day. I know that when I first heard that statistic, I thought that was absolutely crazy. And how is that possible? But if you start to count how many decisions you make, even as you're getting up and getting ready for the day, it's quite a bit. From, what are you going to wear to what are you going to, maybe what are you going to do when you get to work? Maybe you have a presentation. Maybe it's something like that you just keep running through your head. I think that there's a lot of decision making that we don't even realize that we're making every single day, and that's going to be something important to pay attention to, because things like decision fatigue is definitely a real thing. I know that I've experienced that quite a bit, that we can just be overwhelmed with making so many decisions that maybe by the end of the day, or even not even close to that, and you're at lunchtime and you are like, I'm done. I am sick of making decisions today. I'm burnt out. I just need to relax. So definitely things that we're going to be covering, and I'll let Matt kind of kick it off here.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different things that we make decisions on every single day. And basically at any moment, you make a decision, that decision can change the course of your life forever. So there is no small decisions, in the sense of making decisions, because, for instance, if, you choose to start trying to have a family today, that's a decision. If you choose to, drink and drive, that is obviously not a very good decision, but at the same time, that is a decision that you've made, and you have to suffer the consequences of that decision as well. So your life could be forever altered by the small decisions you make every single day. And with that being said too, is that the difference between how most people make decisions and how successful people make decisions is unsuccessful people make decisions based on their current situations. Successful people make decisions based on where they want to be. And I think that's something that we all need to kind of look at, because sometimes we get in this emotional state of trying to make these decisions based out of our current situation. But what if you started looking at it from a different lens and started to look at it from, where do I want to be? And how can I make these small decisions and tweak my habits to make sure that I make it there? Because if that's my ultimate goal, to be on the other side of this, it's my ultimate goal to have that house, to have that car, to have this life, to have this family, to have whatever it is, to have this business. If that's where I want to be, what decisions am I making to get there versus what is my current situation right now? Because my current situation is obviously not where I want to end up. So how can I start altering my decision making every single day to get me where I want to be?
I think that's so important, because that's how you can start to develop new habits in your life, is by looking at your goals and where you want to be and adjusting your decision making according to that. I think that it's also an important thing that we make our most important decisions when we are at our best for the day. So if you're a morning person, maybe that's the morning for you. I would say for a lot of people, it's probably in the morning, or when you've woken up and you have a lot of energy. That is probably one of the better times to make big decisions in your life. Like Matt had said, there's a lot of life-altering decisions we make all the time. So I would suggest that, and not making those decisions when maybe you're super emotional or you're tired, you're hungry. Especially when you're hungry, I get very hangry, and I am not in a good spot to make any decisions if I am hangry. Not a good idea. Picking out a place to eat is probably the most that I can handle at that point. And sometimes that's even too much. I just need food. So for me, that is not a good idea. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. So it is important to realize, if you've got something big that you need to make a decision on, to do that when you are at your best for that day. I think that that's a really important factor, in that we're not doing this, maybe, you're groggy or you're about to go to bed or whatever it is, that you are just not in the right frame of mind. And it's okay to recognize that and to not make the decision at that time, because you might regret what happens after that because you were not in the right frame of mind for that. And something that's really helped me a lot, and I feel like could help you guys too, is kind of categorizing your decisions, because we make so many every single day, is automate, eliminate, or delegate. And with automation, I think that's very, very helpful in decreasing your decision fatigue, because that could be whether it's your routine, habits, maybe you've got certain tools that you use, maybe like a chart, maybe an Excel spreadsheet, something that's automated so that if X happens, then Y is the choice, or whatever it is. And for me, like having the morning routine that I have, I feel like that's very helpful to me, because I'm not making decisions on that in the morning. Those are already made. Like the fact that I go to the gym at the time that I go in the morning, like that's already made. I'm not figuring out, oh, am I going to go to the gym today, or am I going to do this? No, that is just an automated decision. I do it. And a lot of things that go along with that helps me, to not have that decision fatigue, especially early in the day. Another thing that we've done just in automation is setting your clothes out for the next day, or even just setting out your gym clothes, something like that, that just one little less thing you got to think about, like, oh, which leggings or which shirt am I going to wear to the gym today, or which shoes. Just having that already set out seems small, but it actually makes a big difference in your day, so that you can save up that brain power for something else later on. And with elimination of decisions, I think some of that comes through automation, because you're no longer make those decisions, and that they're just already there. They're already done. And it also could be saving something for another time. Maybe you're very emotional at some point, and you're faced with a decision, but you actually could put it off until a time that you are not having maybe that emotional fit or whatever it is, that you can think about it when you are more clear-headed at a later time. So eliminate it for that time. And maybe it's not a decision that you need to make. Maybe it's for somebody else to make, and you need to step back, and that's not your place. So eliminate that decision from your life, because it's not for you. And the third one is delegate. So maybe somebody around you, maybe your kids, maybe your spouse, maybe a friend, somebody else is better equipped to make a certain decision than you. So I would delegate it to that person. I know that Matt and I have decisions that we've delegated to each other. It's just been better for maybe me to make it if I'm at home more, or for him to make it if it's more of something he's an expert in, that I leave that up to him. I think that that's helped us a lot, is just by delegating. And these are just three simple ways that you can help reduce your decision fatigue and make it easier on yourself and improve your life, because we are faced with a lot every single day. And I think that's going to help out a lot.
Absolutely. And, with that too, I think that we need to make sure that we understand fully that you can't make decisions based on fear and possibility of what might happen. Because no matter what, whether you stay where you're at currently or you make the new decision, it's still going to change. There's still going to be something that happens. Whether let's say you're moving out of state. Like if you choose to stay in the state that you're currently at, there's something that may happen there that may not be what you want it to be. So it may be the fact that you're sitting there more comfortable in the current state that you're in. But if you were to maybe move out of state, let's say, you may be faced with a different possibility, but it may actually be more beneficial for your life. You have to really sit down and think about these decisions and not base them out of fear or possibility, because everything is going to end up falling into the possibility category. You can sit there and worry yourself to death, but at the same time, what if you didn't do it, I think is going to be the real question that you're going to have to ask yourself. Can I live with this if I don't make this decision? Can I live with this if I don't walk this path? And I think that's the one thing that you have to look at long term. And I love the fact of the delegation of decisions. And the reason why is because we have to eliminate some decisions. I get it. But the delegation part of it is huge, especially if you have a partner that that you can actually trust with these decisions. Because I feel like having both Ashley and I make decisions together and delegating stuff to each other has changed how we look at every decision we make. And it's how we really do elimination of stuff. And we kind of make decisions not based out of emotions. And it's really helped us do logical decisions because we've removed ourselves from those decisions because we've trusted the other person with that decision. Now, if you're single, that's okay. You'll have to sit there and, make these decisions on your own, or maybe you can trust them with somebody else, in your life. But at the same time, it's been a game changer for us in moving forward and making logical decisions and not emotional ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the main things that comes down to making decisions is responsibility and realizing that you take ownership for the decisions you do make and not play the blame game, especially if you delegate. I think that that's an important thing to let go of. Like once you've given the other person like, hey, I need you to make this decision, like you respect whatever decision they make. Now they might mess up and you might mess up, but that's not a reason to play the blame game and have it, be a rift in your relationship because of it. So I think that that's also an important thing to recognize and to take responsibility, for your own actions and decisions. I think another thing that helps with decision making, especially if it's something big deal, is thinking about the outcome. I know at least that I've done it that way, is thinking, okay, so if I act on this or I'm going to go this way, what is the outcome of that? And then think about it the other way. Okay, so now if I do this instead, what is the outcome of that way? I am very outcome based. So something might seem like a better option in the first place, but if I think about the outcome, I actually might go with the second decision because that's going to get me to where I want to be. And it might not be the instant gratification that I feel like so many of us want, but it's something that's going to get me there, get to my real goal later. And this can be as simple as thinking like, okay, do I want the burger now, which is going to taste awesome with the fries, or am I going to get the salad with the chicken on it because that's going to get me more to my result that I really want, which is to be healthy. And not have, significant health issues down the line. So just a very simple, basic decision, but something that, these things compound over time. And I think that's also something important, is realizing that the little daily decisions you do make are going to compound upon each other. Just like money would with compound interest in a bank. So that's also something, that you need to take into account, that hey, this is harmless, I'll just do it this one time or whatever. And then you keep doing it that one time and that one time again, and then that one time again. And then you see yourself maybe 6 months, a year down the line, and you're like, why am I here? How did this happen? I didn't want this to be this way. Maybe it's a relationship and you just, had this little argument. You just kind of started this over nothing. And then another thing came up like that. And then you did it again. And then you did it again. And then you see yourself years down the line and you're like, why are we so far apart from each other? Why don't I feel the same way about my spouse or whatever? And I think that it's because of those little decisions that we make that can make huge impacts later in our life that we don't even realize in the moment because we just think it's so small and not going to make a difference.
And to go back to the hamburger and fry situation, that was directed more at me than Ashley. She's way more disciplined. I'll make a snap decision while we're sitting at a table and I'll get the look. And Ashley gives some amazing looks sometimes when I place an order for my food. Sometimes it's better if we sit side by side so I don't have to get the look. But it's I think that we just love to have fun, and she's okay with whatever I choose. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, she knows what I'm trying to achieve, and sometimes what I order isn't what I'm trying to achieve. So she kind of keeps me on the right there. But and I think that so everybody really understands too is that a real decision is measured by the fact that you actually took a new action. And if there's no action, there's no decision made. And I think that is something that everybody needs to take into account, because I think so many people are operating in this theory game that you haven't ever made a decision, but you feel like you did because you walked it out 10 ways to sundown, and that's not really making a decision. You haven't taken any action yet. And when you take action, that is truly making the decision. And I want everybody to know that, like, we really want everybody to succeed, and we want everybody to win, and we want everybody to take action. And that's like a huge passion of ours. And we want everybody to understand the difference, because inaction is an action in a sense, because you're not living out what you truly want at that point. And we want everybody to take the action that is going to produce the results and produce the life that they really want to live. So you can actually walk it out and own your life, and you can own everything around it as well.
And part of owning your life is checking your decisions if they are emotional or logical, and how do you make most of them. Now, everybody makes both. They make emotional decisions, they make logical decisions. So I think the thing that's the most important, at least to us, is, are we making our biggest decisions, most life-changing, logically or emotionally? When it comes to, something as simple as, selecting something off a menu or whatever, just because we've been on that topic, that's not as life-altering. Obviously, if you're doing that every single day, yes. But, one time if you're super hangry and you order something you probably shouldn't have, okay, fine. I get it. That was emotional, super emotional. But when it comes to maybe a job change, or maybe a relationship, or maybe it's a move like we're going to have here this next week, something like that, are you making that logically or emotionally? Because that's going to be very important. And I think that it's easier for us to make logical decisions when it doesn't affect us personally. Have you ever, heard a friend's story or family or whatever, and they're going through something, and in your head, you're like, oh, I would just do this, this, and this. It's so easy when it's not your decision, but you made that decision for them in your head logically, because you were not emotionally attached to whatever is going on. And I think that the more that we can do that in our own lives, we'll have such a better result because of it, because we're taking the emotion out. So a lot of how Matt and I make our biggest decisions is we take the emotion out of it. We try to see it from multiple angles, different perspectives, and look at it logically. Does this make sense in a logical manner? Take all emotion out. It doesn't matter, if you're attached to this or that. No, just act like maybe it's your friend and not you. What is the decision that you would make? And then we go by that. And that's actually served us a lot. And we feel like that's been a huge, blessing in our lives of why, we've learned what we've learned, and we've been able to experience what we have, is because of that. Now, it's not always correct. It hasn't always been the most correct decision that we could have made in the time. But it's usually, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it has been the best option, has been to go with the logical decision that we've made. So that's how we make them when it's something such a big deal like that. Because I feel like our emotions are fleeting, and you can make an emotional decision in the time, and most of the time you regret that later. And sometimes you can't change it. You're stuck with whatever that was. So I think that's important to recognize that our emotions are not stable. They ebb and flow, and making a big decision off of emotions could just be something you're going to regret the next day. And I think that's something that we all need to acknowledge and make sure that we're not doing on a regular basis.
Yeah. And I think that, a lot of times is our emotions are making it difficult for us to accept true, real outcomes and decisions of what we're doing. It makes it really tough, because some things that we're going to have to choose to do are very emotional. And we're not saying that, we obviously had a really emotional situation closer to Christmas when we had to put our dog down. That was an emotional decision, but we made the logical decision of he's suffering and we don't want him to live that way anymore. And that is a huge emotional decision, but it's a logical one for whatever's going on. And we had to choose that, unfortunately. And that is a logical decision because of the suffering that he was going through. It was emotional and it was logical at the same time. And understand that good decisions come from experience. and experience comes from making bad decisions, and you're going to have both at the same time. And that's an old Mark Twain quote. But at the same, you're going to have to figure that out. Because I've had Clark Griswold moments, as Ashley calls them, where, I've freaked out and did the thing, and I made a decision there, and I had to suffer the consequence of that decision during that emotional decision I made. It didn't happen immediately, but down the road, I had to suffer that emotional decision that I made. But that's okay. I mean, I learned from that, and now in those same situations that have come up, based on real estate, based on certain things that I made decisions on emotionally before, now I make more logical ones, and now it's benefited us down the road. But I had to make a bad decision first, and that's a part of life. It's a part of growing, and that's why it's always huge to have somebody with wisdom in that area be able to help guide you. If you don't have the person that has some wisdom, do research on it. Think logically before you make the decision, because I know that sometimes, for instance, like I'm a huge car guy, and this is coming from a place of just knowing what's going on. A lot of people will go out and buy a Mercedes, but they don't realize down the road of how much it costs to maintain the Mercedes. Because the maintenance of the Mercedes is a lot more than going out and buying a Toyota and maintaining a Toyota. It's just it's an ever changing thing, and the parts and everything and labor are huge on the Mercedes, but it's not the same for a Toyota. You may be able to afford the payment on the Mercedes, but the maintenance on it's going to get you, and that's a part of it. It's an emotional decision, and I understand that, and we just want to make sure that everybody thinks it through logically before we hop into that boat and start rowing down the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. And to clarify, so the Clark Griswold moment he's talking about is, if you guys have seen Christmas Vacation, where near the end that he freaks out when he realizes he's not going to get his Christmas bonus anymore. That moment, I've seen that from Matt, and it's been very entertaining, but that's his Clark Griswold moment. So anyways, just to clarify that if you're not familiar. But I think it's also important that some of the decisions we have to make, that we take our time with them and not just make a rash decision. It's especially if it's life altering, that it's okay to take the time and think about it and talk it over with whoever you need to make it a logical decision, because obviously you're going to feel different on different days. So it wouldn't just be an emotional decision. So I think that's important to recognize too, is that some things don't need to be decided on right away, and that's okay. So give yourself grace with that as well, that, you don't have to decide everything today. Because I know that for me, I would like to just check everything off a box and just get my to-do list done all in one day. Doesn't work that way. So I think, in closing, that it's always important for us to self-analyze and be self-aware of how we make majority of our decisions. And if you don't like the way that you do, then you can change it. That's the cool thing, is that you are empowered to change your life and take responsibility and own your life. And a lot of that goes with making different decisions. So the cool thing is you can start right now. So you don't have to wait for anyone or anything. You can start today and, be empowered to do that. And, as always, if this message was helpful, please share it. Please subscribe so we can get the word out there. Please rate and review us. We really appreciate all of you and your nice reviews and ratings. And until next time, own your life, because your life is your responsibility. Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook, and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.